I started playing in 1959 when my family went through to visit an aunt and uncle in Greenock, and my cousin had just joined the Boys Brigade band there and had a euphonium. And he got the euphonium out to let us see it and hear it, and we passed it round and everybody tried to get a sound, and for whatever reason I got a sound of it fairly easily. So I said to my mum and dad, I want an instrument, I want to join the band. And a few weeks later my dad took me down to the learners class at Galashiels Town Band with my older brother and started playing then. My two younger brothers joined a couple of years later, and then my dad even took it up himself, so we had quite a presence in the local band. I left Scotland in 1969. I'd made my mind up, albeit at a very young age, that I wanted to join a band where I could also find some kind of career. And we applied to 2 or 3 different bands. Funnily enough, Fodens were one of them, but nothing came of it. And I was invited for an audition and interview at Camelairds, and went down, had an interview in 1969, and joined them in the September of that year to serve a 4-year apprenticeship as a draftsman, and joined the band, which was at that time under Jim Scott. I joined Camelairds on assistant second cornet, as you do, and having played principal cornet with the school band and the town band as a teenager, it came as quite a shock, the new concept of listening and concentrating and not just playing. But it was a really enjoyable start. There were some good players in the band, obviously, good conductor. On our very first contest, we were 6th at the national finals a few weeks after I joined. So in a way, I thought I'd hit the big time. And within about 15 months or so, I was actually sitting on the end seat. Halfway through my apprenticeship at Camelairds, unfortunately, the yard had really been sustained by the building of the Polaris submarines, and that contract had finished. The yard was in financial difficulty and all extra things were being cut out, and the band unfortunately was a victim of that. Rex Mortimer, who was obviously the conductor at Fodens, had a connection with Camelairds band, and he invited 2 or 3 of us to come and join Fodens, who had lost a few players as well. So it was October 71 when Teddy Gray had just retired, and Rex invited me to come down and fill the end seat at Fodens. It was great to join Fodens because they were a very famous band and a very, very busy concert band. I think the year before I joined them, they did over 100 concerts in the 12-month period. So it was very busy. We were a member of Men of Brass with Harry Mortimer, of course, so we were doing mass band concerts as well. It wasn't unusual to do a Foden concert on the Saturday and a Men of Brass concert on the Sunday, which would also have a rehearsal on the Sunday afternoon. So it was a very busy time, but obviously I was a bit unaware when I joined initially that there were a lot of older players in the band. Rex Mortimer was getting towards the end of his career, so it wasn't an ambitious band, it wasn't really a contesting band, but it was still a band to be proud to be part of. The most memorable performance with Fodens was probably the Sound and Brass recording that's now on YouTube, where they got together, they did like a short history of the band and got together all 3 Mortimer brothers, Harry, Alex and Rex. It's probably the only footage showing those 3 brothers together, and I was lucky enough to play Alpine Echoes, introduced by Elgar Howarth and conducted by Harry Mortimer. And in addition to that, the other band that was being recorded that day was Black Dyke, so half of Black Dyke was sitting in the audience as well. So it was absolutely memorable. It was a high pressure situation, but quite enjoyable. And then of course we also did the visit to Annabelle's nightclub in Berkeley Square with Georgie Fame. And Georgie Fame and Alan Price, who were quite famous in the light music and pop world, came to Elworth to band practice one night and went through, and he actually put words to the tune of Coronation Street, and it went down really well with the very, very wealthy people in London that visited Annabelle's. I never really had any one favourite venue, but there was something about arriving at the Royal Albert Hall. Even if you didn't believe deep down that you were there with a chance of winning, the whole atmosphere of the place, the appearance of the place, the various levels and galleries, and it was just an incredible venue. I don't have a favourite test piece, but Eric Ball's High Peak has got great sentimental value because 5 weeks after leaving Scotland as a teenager, I was sitting on the Royal Albert Hall stage with Carmeliades playing it. And even to this day, I still think it's a fantastic piece of music. I do listen to a lot of the later test pieces that I realise are much more technically demanding. But I think High Peak was just got that little special place in my memory. I left Foden's in 1982, so I was with the band for just short of 11 years. I decided to try. I'd had some difficulties with my playing, to be honest, in the last 2 or 3 years. I decided to try conducting. So I went to conduct Tarpley, which were a local village band in Cheshire. And after just over a year with them, I was invited to go and take Greenway Selectors Band over at Biddulph. They were in the second tier, and we had about 9 years together, I think it was, and in that time we got up into the top tier in the East Midlands and we struggled a little bit in that section because Biddulph's a bit of abandoned backwater. There was no supply players. You lost your best player in the band and you've replaced him with the worst player in the band. It was just the way it was at that area at that time. But it was an enjoyable experience. We made a long playing record. We did a couple of local radio broadcasts. We did quite a lot of concerts, and yes, it was quite enjoyable. But eventually, the whole thing just took a kind of downward turn. We'd had long enough together, and I decided to take a break. Then I was asked by Colin Cranston to go and help at Robert's Bakery. I did a little bit with Teddy Gray at Royal Dalton. So I was kind of dipping in and out of playing and conducting. Then my good friend Tony Goddard was with Fairy then. He asked me, I was working in Manchester by this time, and he asked me to go and join Fairies. I went there. It only lasted 6 months. It was really a bridge too far for the age I was and the level my playing was at, but I sat on Fairy's front row for 6 months and got a couple of second prizes at the European and the English National. And then, of course, you may remember or not, I come back here for 12 months on the back row, which was equally challenging, having not played on the back row for about 30 odd years. But I had 12 months with the band under Howard Snell, and then when that come to an end, I joined a local brass quintet, Cheshire Brass Ensemble, and went along. I was asked to go by Don Till, who had played the trombone with Foden's as well, and I went along just to give it a try for a few months and stayed 12 years. But it was one rehearsal a week, local, concerts were local, so it didn't interfere with anything else. And it wasn't the highest standard, but we raised a few £100 for charity every year, and it was quite enjoyable. And I did that until about 7 years ago, and now I'm just a pretty good listener. There were many memorable moments with Foden's. Obviously, I mentioned the Sound and Brass and the Annabelle's concert, but I remember also going to the Royal Albert Hall in 1977 for the Queen's Silver Jubilee concert, where Harry Mortimer conducted 7 bands. And to see 7 bands together and it was all the Black Dykes and Brighouse Fairy, etc. It was a very high level and a very good concert. Unfortunately, in true London style, the Albert Hall wasn't full, but it was still a very memorable event to be part of.